Emily sat in the dim light of her study, the red SD card trembling between her fingers. The room was silent except for the ticking of the wall clock. When she inserted the card into her laptop, thousands of encrypted files appeared. She clicked on one marked Project Blue Ocean. What she saw drained the blood from her face: shipping manifests, payment trails, and hidden offshore accounts. Daniel had uncovered a billion-dollar smuggling network hidden behind their family's company name. Her voice shook as she whispered, "You died for this, didn't you?" The files showed shipments labeled as medical solvents and electronic parts, but the real cargo was poison, hazardous chemicals, and synthetic drugs. Mark's signature appeared at the bottom of nearly every form. Emily's eyes burned with tears and rage. "You killed your brother to protect this," she muttered. Then a faint clicking noise made her freeze. It was coming from the hallway. She turned slowly. The doorknob trembled, followed by the metallic sound of lockpicking tools scraping. Her heart jumped into her throat. "They found me," she whispered. The door burst open with a crash. 3 men in black rushed in, their faces covered, their eyes cold. "Where's the card?" one demanded. Emily lunged for the lamp, smashing it into the nearest man's face. "Run Protocol Echo!" she yelled at her computer, triggering the emergency upload Daniel had installed before his death. The laptop screen flashed. "Uploading to secure server, 27%. A bullet shattered the window beside her. She grabbed the SD card and dove behind the desk. "Stop her!" the leader shouted. Emily crawled toward the window, glass crunching under her palms. The upload bar reached 73%. The men overturned the furniture, their boots pounding closer. She threw the computer chair at them and leapt through the broken window, falling 2 stories into the alley. The impact knocked the breath from her lungs. She rolled, clutching the SD card against her chest. Pain shot up her ankle, but she forced herself to limp toward the fire escape. Behind her, one man shouted into his radio, "She's alive!" Heading east. By dawn, Emily was miles away, hiding inside an abandoned medical warehouse on the city's edge. Her ankle throbbed, but the pain meant she was still alive. She found an old stretcher, wrapped her wound, and whispered, "You'd be proud of me, Daniel." She opened the laptop again. The upload had completed. File securely mirrored off-site. Relief washed over her. She took a shaky breath, looking at the dust particles floating in the sunbeam. "You wanted justice," she murmured. "Now they'll learn what it feels like to be hunted." For 2 days, Emily stayed hidden in that cold, forgotten warehouse. She survived on instant noodles and bottled water, her laptop glowing like a lifeline in the dark. She mapped out routes, phone calls, and hidden money trails from the files Daniel left behind. It all pointed to one name again and again: Mark Reed. He wasn't just running drugs. He was laundering political donations and buying silence from law officials. Emily leaned back, rubbing her tired eyes. "You built an empire on death," she muttered. "But I'll tear it down." Late that night, she received a message from an encrypted address. "I know who killed your husband. Meet me at Dock 14 midnight." The message was unsigned. Emily's pulse quickened, her instincts screaming both danger and hope. She hid the SD card under a loose floorboard, grabbed her coat, and drove through the rain-soaked streets. The docks were empty, except for the hum of cranes and the rhythmic slap of waves. A man stepped out of the shadows, his face pale under the flickering light. "Dr. Reed," he said softly. "My name's Lucas. I worked for your husband." Lucas's hands trembled as he pulled a folder from his coat. Daniel found out Mark was using the company's ships to move illegal chemicals. He was gathering proof. "I helped him hide the data before they got to him." Emily swallowed hard. "So you knew he'd be killed?" Lucas shook his head, guilt clouding his eyes. "He told me if anything happened, find you. He said you'd finish what he couldn't." Emily's voice broke. "He trusted me with his last breath." Lucas nodded. "Then it's time you saw what's really buried beneath this city." He led her into a deserted storage hangar. Inside were dozens of metal drums labeled Blue Ocean Project. Emily opened one and staggered back at the stench. Chemical waste disguised as cleaning solvent. "They dump this in rivers," Lucas said grimly. "The company gets paid twice, once to transport it, once to dispose of it." Her stomach twisted in disgust. "He's poisoning people for profit." Lucas nodded. "And he's protected by people in high places. Police, politicians, investors. They all take his money." Emily clenched her fists. "Then I'll take their piece." A noise echoed from outside. Tires screeching, doors slamming. "He found us," Lucas hissed, pulling her toward the back door. Gunshots shattered the windows, sparks flying from metal shelves. Emily ducked, heart pounding. Lucas shoved a small USB into her hand. "If I don't make it, run," he shouted. "This holds the port shipment schedules. It's the final proof." Before she could answer, a bullet hit him. He fell instantly, blood pooling on the concrete. Emily bit back a scream, clutching the USB to her chest as she fled into the rain. Emily drove through the storm with trembling hands. Her headlights cut through sheets of rain as she clutched the USB drive Lucas had given her. Her mind screamed with guilt and rage. Lucas had died helping her husband's cause. She couldn't let his sacrifice be wasted. Pulling into an abandoned parking garage, she locked the doors and plugged the USB into her laptop. The files loaded instantly. Maps, payment logs, and one word stamped across every document. "Shipment. Tomorrow, Pier 7. Her pulse quickened. "Tomorrow," she whispered. "That's when I end this." The next morning, Emily disguised herself with a blonde wig, glasses, and a plain coat. She looked nothing like the grieving widow plastered across the news. At a cafe near the pier, she sipped burnt coffee and watched Mark's men patrol the area. They carried earpieces and moved with military precision. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You can't run forever, Emily." Her throat tightened, but she smiled bitterly. "Then I won't run," she murmured. "I'll make you come to me." Her reflection in the window looked unfamiliar, cold, steady, and unafraid. That afternoon, she called Detective Harris, an honest officer who had once trusted her as a medical examiner. "Harris, I have proof Mark Reed killed Daniel and runs a smuggling ring," she said. He sounded wary. "Emily, these are dangerous people. You can't take them alone." "I'm not asking permission," she replied. "I'm asking for timing. When the next shipment moves, be ready." There was a pause. Then his voice softened. "You're risking your life." Emily closed her eyes. "He already took one life I loved. I have nothing left to lose." Night fell over the city like a black curtain. Emily returned to the warehouse where she'd hidden Daniel's files. The air was damp, smelling faintly of rust and old paper. She printed the evidence, sealing copies in waterproof bags. "If I don't make it, someone will," she whispered. She tucked one set of files into an envelope marked to Detective Harris. Outside, thunder cracked. She looked up at the sky and muttered, "Watch me, Daniel. This time they'll answer for you." Then she grabbed her coat and stepped into the storm. The annual Reed Corporation charity gala gleamed like a scene from a movie. Crystal chandeliers, silver trays, and false laughter echoing through the grand ballroom. Mark stood on stage, smiling like a saint. "To the future of innovation," he toasted. Applause filled the room. From the shadows, Emily watched, her black velvet gown catching the light with every step. Her heart pounded, but her eyes burned with calm fury. She approached a waiter, slipping a flash drive into the presentation system. On the big screen behind Mark, the first image flickered to life. The crowd gasped as photos appeared. Chemical drums labeled Blue Ocean, dead fish along a poisoned riverbank, and money transfers to offshore accounts under Mark's name. Whispers rippled through the hall. "What is this?" someone shouted. Mark turned, his smile collapsing. "Cut the feed," he barked, but Emily's voice echoed through the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Emily Reed, the widow of Daniel Reed." The man you see on this stage murdered his own brother to hide this. Gasps filled the air. Flashbulbs popped. The perfect illusion of the Reed family shattered. Security rushed forward, but Mark held up his hand, forcing a composed smile. "My sister-in-law is grieving," he said, his voice falsely tender. "She's clearly unstable." Emily faced him, trembling but fierce. "Tell them about the janitor disguise," she snapped. "Tell them about the injection mark behind his ear." Mark's jaw tightened. "Enough!" he shouted, grabbing her wrist. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Emily met his eyes and whispered coldly, "You can silence me, but not the truth." She pulled free, leaving the hall buzzing with chaos and whispers of murder. That night, Emily received a single message on her phone. "Come alone. Tomorrow at 10 p.m. Riverside Penthouse. Bring the original." She stared at the text, her pulse quickening. It was Mark. He wanted to control the narrative again or kill her. She smiled faintly. "You still think I'm scared," she said under her breath. She packed a vial of luminol, a small UV flashlight, and her recorder. As she zipped her bag, she whispered, "You took Daniel from me. You took Chloe. But tonight I take your mask." The next evening, Emily stood before the towering glass skyscraper that held Mark's penthouse. Its lights glowed like fireflies against the night sky. The elevator doors opened directly into his living room. "Right on time," Mark said, sipping red wine as if nothing had happened. "Still playing detective?" "No," Emily replied, scanning the room. "Just closing the case." Her eyes landed on a large Persian rug, deep red, perfectly placed in the center of the floor. She took out her luminol and sprayed it lightly. "What are you doing?" Mark snapped. Emily switched off the main light and clicked on her UV flashlight. The rug glowed under blue light. Streaks, splatters, drag marks. Mark's smirk vanished. "Blood," Emily whispered. "Daniel's blood. You killed him right here." His hand tightened on the wine glass. "You don't know what you're talking about," he hissed. "I know enough," she said, stepping closer. "The stains don't lie. The dead don't lie." Mark's voice dropped to a growl. "You should have stayed quiet." She met his gaze, her tone icy. "And let you sleep easy. Never again." Mark's calm snapped. He lunged forward, knocking the flashlight from Emily's hand. "You think you can ruin me?" he snarled, his voice low and dangerous. Emily stepped back, her heartbeat thundering. "You ruined yourself the moment you pulled that trigger," she said sharply. He grabbed her wrists, squeezing hard. "You were always too smart for your own good." She raised her knee and struck him, breaking free. The flashlight rolled across the floor, the glowing blue stains reflecting on both their faces like ghosts demanding justice. "You murdered your own brother," Emily cried. "He trusted you, Mark." Her words echoed off the glass walls. Mark wiped blood from his lip and sneered. "He was weak. He wanted to expose everything my father built. I gave him a hero's death." Emily's eyes burned with fury. "A hero's death," she whispered. "You paralyzed him. You made him watch his own end." She grabbed the fallen UV light, aiming it at the rug again. "This room is your confession. And I'm recording every word you say." Mark froze for a split second, realizing his mistake. Then he lunged again, knocking her backward into the marble counter. Pain shot through Emily's back, but she didn't let go of her recorder. He reached for her throat, but she slammed the pepper spray into his face. He screamed, stumbling blindly, clawing at his eyes. Emily gasped for air and sprinted toward the elevator. Behind her he roared, "You'll regret this, Emily." The elevator doors closed just as his hand slammed against the glass, smearing blood down the metal frame. Emily drove straight to the police headquarters, her body shaking but her will unbroken. She burst into Detective Harris's office and threw the evidence onto his desk, the rug fibers sealed in plastic, the USB drive, and the voice recording. "Everything's there," she said, breathless. "He confessed." The luminol revealed the murder scene. Harris's eyes widened. "You got a confession?" She nodded. "And I have the shipment records that tie him to the drug operation." He exhaled slowly. "This is enough. We'll get him tonight." By midnight, the port was alive with movement. Police vans lined the docks, hiding in the shadows between stacks of containers. Through binoculars, Emily watched Mark arrive with his convoy of black SUVs. "Load everything," he barked at his men. "We move it all before dawn." Detective Harris gave a silent nod. "This is it," he whispered. Emily's pulse pounded in her ears. "Let me send the signal," she said, pulling out her phone. She typed one message to Mark. "You killed Daniel in silence. Tonight the world will hear him scream." Mark looked at his phone, his face twisting in rage. "Find her," he shouted. But before his men could move, floodlights exploded across the docks. "Police! Drop your weapons!" Officers surrounded the area, their guns drawn. Chaos erupted, men shouting, crates crashing to the ground. Mark spun toward his car, trying to flee. "You're not going anywhere," Harris shouted. Mark grabbed a worker, pressing a gun to his head. "Back off or he dies," he screamed. Emily stepped out from behind a crate, rain glistening in her hair. "Put it down, Mark," she yelled, her voice echoing across the pier. "It's over." Mark's eyes widened as he saw her. "You just don't stop, do you?" he growled. "You destroyed everything I built." Emily took a slow step forward. "No, Mark. Daniel built it. You poisoned it." His grip faltered for a moment. Harris gave a signal. A single shot cracked through the rain. The sniper's bullet hit Mark's shoulder. He screamed, the gun clattering into the water. Officers swarmed him instantly, forcing him to the ground as he shouted curses at the night. The trial that followed was the scandal of the decade. Reporters filled the courtroom, cameras flashing as Emily took the stand. Mark's lawyers pleaded insanity, claiming he was mentally unstable from family pressure. Emily held up the toxicology report, her voice clear. "He wasn't insane. He was calculated. He injected my husband with succinylcholine, a drug only a trained professional could use." The judge listened in silence. When the verdict came, the courtroom was frozen. For the crimes of murder and trafficking, the judge declared, Mark Reed is sentenced to death. Months passed. The company was seized by federal authorities, and the Reed empire collapsed like a house of cards. Emily left the city quietly, moving into a small apartment near Columbia University. One morning, she received a scheduled email from Daniel. The subject read, "To my wife." In the video, his smile was warm, his eyes gentle. "If you're seeing this, I didn't make it," he said softly. "Don't cry, love. I left you everything to start again. Don't let hate take your heart. Live for both of us." Emily sobbed, clutching the screen. 3 years later, Emily stood before a classroom full of young students at Columbia. The morning sun poured through tall windows as she spoke with quiet strength. "A surgeon's scalpel saves the living," she said. "But a medical examiner's scalpel gives justice to the dead. Never forget, truth is our patient." The students applauded softly. Emily looked out the window, smiling faintly at the blue sky. "Rest easy, Daniel," she whispered. "Your fight is over." Outside, the city buzzed with life again, and this time she walked forward free.